right, Shalom. Okay, first and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Most High, Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Bahashem, Ruchahakodash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. I want to say Shalom to all the brothers and, of course, the few sisters who are pursuing this truth in sincerity. All right, may the blessing of election be upon your house. Today, we're going to talk about how usury is a tool that's primarily in our time used by the wicked to make slaves of the people, to control nations even. Okay, I got some clips I want to show you guys, and we'll get into the precepts on how the scriptures say to deal with the usury. Okay, and how its practices could lead to much harm. Okay, and the destruction of a nation and a person or people. It's a very predatory, tactic. Okay, I'm gonna double check and make sure that I'm live right now. Let me see here. Okay, says I'm live. All right, so with no further ado, the first clip I want to show you guys, let me get it up on the screen here. I'll play this one, and it's just gonna go into the history of the small hats. Apparatazar, man, they don't flap me, but this is for educational purposes, and we're just using this as a visual aid to illustrate how usury could be used in a predatory way. So with no further ado, here's the first clip.
Is called usury. Usury is illegal. So in Christian nations, lending money for an interest rate was illegal. So because it was illegal for the Christians, who did the lending? The Jews. So there was Christians who could lend for 0% or didn't lend at all. And then these people called the Jews would come over and start lending money. They would start charging money, and in a couple generations, guess what would happen to the economy? The Jews owned everything, and then guess what the king did? Rounded them up and threw them out of the country.
And for the people that are new, you're seeing all these images. Okay, the Khazars converted to Judaism. All right, they had two options. They were between a Muslim and a so-called Christian, country, and they had to convert to either one, and they decided to convert to Judaism. So they took upon themselves that heritage to the point where they actually started masquerading as the actual bloodline descendants and not converts. Okay, but they would use this practice of usury in all the countries that they were wiggling around in, and you're gonna get the backstory on what happened because of how they were, using this tactic and the effect it was having on these countries. Okay.
Then they go to the next country, and what would they do?
Actually, let me rewind that.
And what would that
rewind that just a bit.
The Jews owned everything, and then guess what the king did? Rounded them up and threw them out of the country.
Okay.
And then these people called the Jews would come over and start lending money. They would start charging money, and in a couple generations, guess what would happen to the economy? The Jews owned everything, and then guess what the king did? Rounded them up and threw them out of the country. Then they go to the next country, and what would they do? Same thing, and what would that king do?
And the man speaking in the video is a small hat himself.
Round them up, kick them out of the country. This went on for thousands of years. This is why the Jews in history have had no country, because the king would have, they would say no usury, no money lending, and they would start the money lending, they would start the central bank to compete with the king would kick them out. They go to the next country, do it again. So this has happened over and over and over again, because this quote right here from Napoleon, he would show the compound interest tables, and he said in a very short amount of time, compound interest would eat up every piece of property in France. In fact, I'm going to show you how powerful compound interest is. Very scary thing. There's a reason why it was illegal. Illegal in the Christian nations and the Christian philosophy.
All right. So yeah, man, something that's can be used to completely enslave a country. Let's get this off of the screen. There we go. All right, something that can be used to completely enslave a country. Let's get the precept on usury in the scriptures. Okay, It's Exodus 22:25. It says, if thou lend money to any of my people. Now, as for our law, we're not allowed to lend to our own people on interest, all right? Okay, and the small hats today, they don't lend to each other on interest, but they'll lend to the nations on interest, and it's something that's used to, eventually gain dominion over a person. When you put exorbitant amount of interest on things, especially if you're lending to nations, it gets to the point where it's impossible for them to even pay you back. For instance, hopefully I can articulate this to you to where you could get it and understand it. Say you have a small nation, right? And amongst them, I'm going to use small numbers. And amongst them, they have $5 in their currency, so to speak. Okay, and they want to expand and do business and things like that. They want to trade. You lend them $10. Now that's more than what they have within their society off the rip. You lend them $10. Now amongst their society, okay, they have a total of 15. But the interest you put on them goes to where they got to pay you 50 back. The amount of money they have to pay you back is not even available to them. So eventually, to even pay you back, they got to borrow more money to do certain things. They still got to have to borrow. They're just putting themselves to where they're going to be perpetual debt slave to you. And that's what the small hats, these banking families, they've done to all the nations all over the world. So you talk about central banks, all right, these banks that are within countries that aren't federal or attached to that country, right? Like the Federal Reserve is not an entity of the so-called U.S. government, which is really just a corporation the elites use. Those federal banks or those central banks, they're there to basically make a slave, a debt slave of that country. And that's what the small hats have done. And I'll run one more clip on that, and then we'll get into some more precepts. Here you go. Okay.
The Rothschilds? Yeah, they were actually the bankers in Germany. They were essentially the money changers. That's anti-Semitic.
Meyer Amschel Bauer, born in Frankfurt, Germany in 1744, was a moneylender and a goldsmith on Jew Street, whose shop had a sign out front with a red hexagram on it. Eventually, he would change his name to Rothschild, which is German for red sign. Rothschild soon learned that loaning money to governments and kings was more profitable than loaning money to private individuals. Not only were the loans bigger, but they were secured by the nation's taxes. Meyer Rothschild had 5 sons whom he trained in the skills of money creation and sent out to the major capitals of Europe to open branches of the family banking business.
Essentially pumping and dumping both sides of the market, rigged in their favor.
You are 5 brothers. I want you each to start a banking business in a different country. One to go and open a house in Paris, one in Vienna, one in London. Choose the most important centers, so that when money is to be sent from here to London, let us say.
Okay, so they set it up to where they lent these major countries money and put these countries in debt. And that's why you have that famous quote by Nathan de Rothschild, I care not who makes a nation's laws, long as I control their money. And I'm paraphrasing the quote, but you can look it up. Okay, so let's get into these precepts again. I'll read Exodus 22:25. It says, if thou lend money to any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as a usurer, neither shalt thou lay upon him usury. Now let's look up that word usury. Okay. Look up that word usury. Let's see what it says for us. Or usurer, right? It's a nasha. Okay. It says to lend, to be a creditor. All right. Borrow on security or interest. Extortion. It's extortion. Extortioner. All right. To take on usury. Okay. Now I want to go to Leviticus 25 and 35. Because in the kingdom, man, the nations, they're still going to borrow from us. They're going to need things. They're going to come to us. They're going to get denied. We're going to tell them they got bad credit. the way they do us in this society. All right, but it's going to be in righteousness. In the kingdom, though, the vibration that the wicked push within this society to diminish family, to take any kind of, sovereignty from a man, it's not going to be done that way in the kingdom. Yeah, everybody's going to be up under the umbrella of Yahawashi, Yahawashi, and have to follow, the law. All right, they're going to have to operate under our vibration. But it's going to be eventually beneficial for all the nations and all the people. Everything that's pushed, the vibration that's pushed, is going to be leading unto life and not death, the way it is within Esau's rulership. Now, I'm not here to say that usury isn't going to happen. Yeah, the nations, they're gonna bring unto us gifts and things like that. And it might be instances where an Israelite lends unto somebody of the nation, and they might say, "Oh, you gotta pay me back this." That is what it is. But the way this devil is doing it here in this society is used to basically pigeonhole the whole world into doing wickedness. You got to think, when these nations can't pay these banks back, what do they have to do? You see the president when he gets elected here in this society, what he has to go to Israel, he has to put on that small hat, he has to go to that Wailing Wall and hump the wall. There's certain things that everybody becomes subject to because they've gotten in bed with this man financially. There's certain evil that the whole world has to, all the nations of the world have to subscribe to, because they're in debt to the small hats. They're in debt to these central banks. You see? Hey, shalom to the brothers on the comment board. Shalom, Elder Nazi Zakba. Shalom to the brother Yanaga. Shalom, brother. He's putting up precepts. Let me read some of these. It's Sirach 39 and 25. It says, "For the good are good things created from the beginning. So evil things for sinners." Yeah, everything that the Lord set up for us to operate in, this devil has taken it and used it in wickedness. Okay? Continuing on, verse 26. "The principal things for the whole use of a man's life are water, fire, iron, salt, flour, wheat, honey, milk, and the blood of the grape, and oil and clothing. All these things are for good to the godly. So to the sinners they are turned into evil," which is just testament to who this man is. He's the wicked that the Bible speaks of. Everything that was meant for life, he's perverted it and used it to usher death and destruction in the earth. The scriptures talk about when the Greeks came on the scene, how evils, after Alexander died, how evils were increased upon the earth. And they've been increasing. Every time this man is in a power position, evils increased. In Habakkuk 2, verses 4 and 5, it talks about how this man, wherever he goes, the conditions of hell and death follow him. And that's true today, man. When the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. The whole earth is in a state of mourning. That's why people have to just constantly absorb and buy and consume, because they're trying to fill a hole inside. They feel vacant in the spirit, but they're trying to fill it with carnal things. And it's never enough. Everybody's just giving over to their flesh, and it's never enough. But to counteract that, the Lord has set up the prophets to leave an avenue for the elect to be healed and delivered. All right, let me see. Okay, so that was it on that precept. Yeah, let's get back to Leviticus 25 and 35. This is the law on loaning on interest. Okay, for us amongst each other in our nation, right? "And if thy brother be waxing poor and fallen in decay with thee," actually I'm gonna check it out. Let's check it out in the NLT. Is Leviticus 25 and 35. "If one of your fellow Israelites falls into poverty and cannot support himself, support him as you would a foreigner or a temporary resident, and allow him to live with you. Do not," and this is not talking about a literal foreigner, in the NLT. All right, this is somebody, okay, that's still of the family line. They're a traveler. They're passing through. Okay, NLT man. All right, do not 36. Do not charge interest or make profit at his expense. Instead, show your fear of God by letting him live with you as your relative. And this was a practice back in ancient time. Nowadays, you wouldn't do that because, you got you don't know what niggas into. You understand? Now check it out. Now brothers that are teaching and walking towards you in that fear of the Lord, I notice, like here in the Dallas area, man, a bunch of brothers from all over the camps, all over the world, coming to Dallas. They come sup. We got 2 of the apostles here in Dallas. We take care of brothers when they come in town. So in that regard, this would apply. We make sure, okay, brother, you good? You need anything? Verse 37, remember, do not charge interest on money you lend him or make a profit on food you sell him. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt to give you the land of Canaan and to be your God. So we're supposed to fear the Lord in that regard, in that conduct. You see? All right, we got that. Now I want to go to Ezekiel 18. And we're going to start at 10. The point is in 13. Check this out. I'm going to read it in the NLT as well. It says, but suppose that a man has a son who grows up to be a robber or a murderer and refuses to do what is right. Now, this description you'll see fits Esau to the T. All right, Esau was a murderer. All right, he's the same spirit of Cain. Okay, so he was a murderer from the beginning. Okay, but suppose that man has a son who grows up to be a robber or a murderer, and he is a robber. He goes around the earth and extorts nations for their resources. Again, he'll lend to nations on usury, and when they can't pay it back, he now has dominion over all the resources that nation produces to pay him back. This is how this man moves. It's predatory lending. And that son does all the evil things his father would never do. He worships idols on the mountains, commits adultery, and this devil does all those things. He encourages all those things. He sets up infrastructure to where those things are seemingly to the flesh profitable for a person. For the woman, for her to monkey branch from man to man, that's a profitable thing in the flesh for a woman on this side. When you can't get no more things out of this man, you go to the next one. You just hop. And they situated it within law to where a woman, she's encouraged. She benefits from leaving a man, taking half that he owns, and doing it to the next man. All right. Verse 11. And that son does all the evil things his father would never do. He worships idols on the mountains, commits adultery, oppresses the poor and helpless, steals from debtors by refusing to let them redeem their security, worship idols, commits detestable sins, and lends money at excessive interest. Should such a sinful person live? No, he must die and must take full blame. So the things that this devil has done, all of his practices, are things that the Lord would deem worthy of death. So we're getting ready to see this man's end in real time, man. You're seeing this devil rub all his allies the wrong way. Talked about that golden dome yesterday, and the scriptures talk about, this dome that he's building, the missile defense system. How the Spirit of the Lord is going to be on the missiles that shot on this place, and that wall ain't gonna do shit. So we're seeing what's written, this man's end that's written. We're seeing it play out in real time. And if you're a member of the elect and you're paying attention to prophecy, which is the spirit of Yahawashi, that's something that's going to, lift your spirits up. Put a pep in your step. You understand? Yep, the Habakkuk 2:5, yep. Yeah, also because he transgresses by wine, the philosophy that he pushes in the earth, okay? And he's able to push that wine because all these nations are in bed with him financially. They owe this man money, all right? That he has a an authoritative position, all right? These banking families, they have an authoritative position over these nations because all these nations have received loans from the banking families at interest, all right? Yeah, also because he transgresses by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. And he's done that by lending out to all the nations. Everybody's in bed with him in that regard. Verse 6, shall not all these take up a parable against them? And the nations, everybody's looking for a plan B, for a way out of bed with this man. But, it's seemingly no way out. But the first chance they get to get from under his thumb, they're going to take it. All right? The Lord's going to offer them that way out. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay, and that thick clay is debt. Okay? He's insulated himself. Everybody owes him money with debt. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee and awake? It jumped on me. Where was that? Verse 7. Okay. Habakkuk 2:7. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them, because thou hast spoiled many nations. All the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. Boom. You know what I mean? So there's a recompense for the wickedness that this man has done. All right? The water for putting that up, brother. I mentioned it, but I didn't read it earlier. So the water for putting that up. Job 20:15. He hath swallowed down riches, and he shall vomit them up again. God shall cast them out of his belly. The same way with Pharaoh and the Egyptians. They had to cough those riches up. It's going to be given unto the Lord's people. It's going to be given unto the heavenly family. If you also could put up Sirach 10:8, that'll be your pie, and we'll close out on that. Okay? There's a recompense for how this man has moved throughout the earth. Okay? Sirach 10:8. All right. Yep, and I'm going to start at verse 7. It's Sirach 10:7. It says, pride is hateful in the scriptures. In Jeremiah 50, it calls Esau the most proud. Pride is hateful before God and man, and by both doth one commit iniquity. Iniquity is sin upon sin. Verse 8, because of unrighteous dealings, all right, that predatory lending, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. It's going to be translated to the heavenly family. All right, the saints. Verse 9, why is earth and ashes proud? There is not a more wicked thing than a covetous man. Esau, Edom. All right, and you can go into the wicked of our people, but we're getting on his ass today. For such a one setteth his own soul to sale, because while he liveth, he casteth away his bowels. And Esau, man, we can go to the whole start of it. Him losing that birthright, and everything he does in this time is to get that birthright back. This man couldn't fast for one day. Sold his birthright for uncooked meat. That's the spirit. I need it now. That I need it now spirit. It's so prevalent in the earth that it's rubbed off on our own people. The scriptures say what the righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the ways of the wicked seduceth them. That spirit is hopped on our own people. Nobody understands the concept of delayed gratification, having patience. The best food that you can eat on the earth, man, it ain't gonna come out of a microwave. It takes time, it has to be seasoned, and you might have to prepare it for the day before. Cook it. It's a process. The elect understand that. We're suffering patiently, but the reward is going to be far greater than anybody could fathom. All right, and you got to believe that. And not even death could separate us from the reward that we're going to receive if we continue in the path, we continue in the way. All right, so Abaratazah, man, the lesson was edifying. I want to give all praises once more to Yahawah, Bahashim, Yahawashi, Bahashim, Yahawashi. I want to give double honors to apostles and the elders, a great millstone. I want to say shalom to all the brothers and, of course, the few sisters who are pursuing this truth in sincerity. All right, may the blessing of election be upon your house. Shalom. The water to all the comments and the brothers chiming in on the comment board. The water. Shalom.